Akashic Records. They're saying sources of education, sources of knowledge, wisdom, source of knowledge and wisdom. So like subjects and topics. So they're saying, yeah, encyclopedias, like volumes of encyclopedias, like the education of the universe, and like universal things, universal experiences, getting like everything and anything is in there, all of the time, all of the ways, all of beings, all of things, all of ideas, all of concepts, all, everything, anything, universe, universal. I'm getting that like they're saying like for many people, like it's hard to grasp, it's hard to grab the concept of that because it's so expansive, because it's so much. Like, they're just saying informational, educational, non-judgmental. Like seeing clearly from above, seeing clearly from below, like in all sides of something, like, you know, kind of captured in a message. It's like to see all of it in like one thing, and it's not one-sided, it's universal, because they're like universal information field. So it's universal. So what is the universal take on this subject? What is the universal take on this experience? It's like the like 360, like all-encompassing source of information of a thing, of a subject, of an object, of a person, of a being. And they're kind of like, they're showing like wrapped in like a little bow, like wrapped in like a well done, a well presented form of knowledge and wisdom. It's clean and it's clear. And they're saying it's like the most honest, like the most truthful, because it's non-judgmental, non-duality. Is there anything else? What are the Akashic Records? They're kind of showing like, if you imagined like files, like they're like endless files. It's like there's all these files in my face, like rushing past me, and there's almost like a wind. There's so many of them. There's like a wind blowing off of them. It's like so many. They're just saying like endless, like this endless, like file cabinet. And they're like, you know, some people call it like books. Books of life, books of lives, the library, the archives. But it's essentially these sources of information on a subject, object, a being, a person, a place, a thing. Like all encompassing of that thing. Subject or object.
Welcome to the premiere podcast of Thera Phase Biofield Tuning. I am your host, Shauna Mayfield. Thera Phase Podcast is a community space to have open discussions between curious minds who thrive on traversing the threshold between mysticism and science. We have questions, inquiries into the universal energy fields of consciousness, and there are limitless possibilities for answers. Join the conversation. In today's premiere episode, we'll take a deep dive into the Akashic Records with Lindsay Mann of Hey Clarity. Lindsay Mann is an intuitive artist and One Giant Mind certified meditation teacher committed to advocating for sustainable well-being. She has established a profound connection to universal guidance and insight through her practices of Vedic meditation, Reiki mastery, mediumship, and working in the Akashic Records. Lindsay is deeply passionate about sharing her wealth of support and knowledge with others. Driven by her unwavering dedication to co-create a better world, Lindsay approaches her work with great respect and appreciation for the impact these gifts have had on her own life and those that she's worked with. She feels honored to be able to contribute to her community and nurture well-being in this way. Lindsay has several offerings. You can discover the transformative power of the One Giant Mind Being meditation technique with Lindsay's 3-day meditation course. You can tune into the power of your intuitive intelligence with her training program. She offers guidance sessions with the Akashic Records, which may include mediumship and Reiki, depending on the support that's needed. And she's an accomplished author of 3 books and 1 in the works. Her first book is Soul Garden: Why You Are Human on Earth. Soul Garden is an exploration of the human experience on Earth, using the universal information field, the Akashic Records. As a guide, we discover the simplified perspective of the soul and reveal the intention of our interconnectedness with each other and the world around us. Her second book is 30 Questions to Ask the Akashic Records to Change the World. It's a workbook, and it offers inspiring questions to ask the Akashic Records to create world impact. This workbook provides question prompts, including space to write and sketch your answers to document the insights you receive to support your life and the lives of those around you. Her third book, Beyond Love, a collection of channeled messages from passed on loved ones. It shares messages from passed on loved ones as a moving reminder that we are always supported, no matter what we may experience throughout our life. Lindsay also has the most intriguing YouTube channel with an archive of knowledge from her connection with the Akashic Records, exploring everything from plants to the nervous system to whales and all sorts of other animals, even places on the earth, going into the core of the earth, asking questions. It's just a deep curiosity. And I encourage you to please visit her channel and watch these videos. They're so precious. Today we are exploring the roots of the Akashic Records and asking why people need to know about it. How does this knowledge generate meaning for an individual? How does this knowledge bring harmony to the collective field? How do we connect to the Akashic Records? Discover how receiving a reading can support your evolutionary growth and consciousness. We'll also cover the subject of ether and how the Akashic Records are woven into your biofield anatomy. Stay with us for this intriguing conversation and enjoy a special tuning and reading at the close of our inspiring chat. Add your comments below and join in the discussion. Welcome, Lindsay Mann of Hey Clarity. I am so pleased to have you on my very premiere podcast from Thera Phase Biofield Tuning. I'm thrilled to talk about this subject. It's new to me from the last year, and there's so much to explore, and the curiosity has led me here and to have these conversations with you, and I'm excited to share it with people and to help expand an awareness of what is going on with these Akashic Records readings and why are they important for people to learn about. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive into all of it. And all the words you're saying is exactly, the Akashic Records, expansive and exploration and curiosity and yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we're on the same page. I feel a resonance with you. That's what has brought us together, actually. And I would like to perhaps just give a little context for how I found you and what that connection was from. I had recently gotten a new deck of the medicine cards with all the animals in it. I have replaced it because my last deck burned in the fire. So I was starting to replace things that were really special to me. So the first card that I drew was the whales card, and it talked about them as being the record keepers. And I was just fascinated with the topic from that point, and the Akasha, and how it's relating to what I'm learning with the biofield and biofield tuning and our connection with ether and plasma. It was just like, and so I researched, Googled, Akashic Records and whales, and you really were one of the first things that came through that was very, very clear. Your YouTube video where you tapped into the records on the whales. It was so beautiful and like I felt a lot that came through with that message, and I felt a connection to you and to reach out to you, and it was very strong to drop in the message. And so I went to your website, and you had a beautiful course that you offered on intuition. Signed up for that and went through that with you, and we've shared some biofield tuning together as well when playing around with the records. It's been a lot of fun. And so, yeah, that's our background together. I've just really enjoyed our experiences, and where we're at, we seem to have a resonance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really exciting. And it's so beautiful that like it was the whales reading, right? And like
Yeah,
how perfectly right on time. And I feel like the Akashic Records call people in, and it's usually something like that. Like you're drawn to, something, an animal, a person, something, and then suddenly the Akashic Records pop up.
yeah.
Or you start hearing the word Akasha or Akashic, and then suddenly you're called to it. And when I first learned um, to work in the Akashic Records during my training with my teacher, Christina Cross, she mentioned in our course that the whales are the Akashic Records keepers of the animal kingdom. And so it would be a few more years until I did that reading, but I wanted to go into, different animals and, you know, the incredible power and purpose that they have in our ecosystem, and for us to get a peek into that. Um, so yeah, that was a really beautiful reading. And so it was really great to like dive into more of it of like why are they the Akashic Records keepers of,
Mm-hmm.
of the animal kingdom? And actually my very first like introduction to this world at all, um, I feel like it may have been like 2014. I was on a retreat with my sister, and it was like my first meditation with sound. It wasn't officially a sound bath, but we were in a meditation class. And this was one of the first times I ever saw a visual when I closed my eyes. And in this meditation, as I was listening to the music, I saw a whale slowly come into view and face me dead on.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, hello. And so from that point on, like I came back and I was like, I want to look up like what are whales about? Like what do
Mm-hmm.
whales mean? And they were just like wisdom. But that was the very first time I got a visual with my eyes closed. And it was years before I even got into working in the Akashic Records.
Wow. And it's amazing that it was the whales also.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's intriguing. And I now I'm I work with the whales. Just I call them in, just when I'm working with we can get into that what I do, how I've been working with it with the biofield tuning, but there's something amazing happening there where they're that imagery of them diving into the depths of the ocean and having that capacity to come up into the etheric realm, and this connection is I'm getting chills because it was such a beautiful reading. Please go watch Lindsay's reading on whales, and you also have such a very profound connection to nature. It comes through in all of your readings, it seems. Plants, animals, and even the human connection of why we're here. It's so nature-based. I think that's something that's drawing me into how you are connecting to the records, which
Mhm.
I will say I don't have a lot of experience in looking into it. You really were maybe the first person, and it's so funny because it's like I got it. I don't need. I almost feel like I don't need to look at all the way other people are doing it. I'm sure it's all beautiful and different, and we'll get into that as well as to what is going on here with the way people are connecting to it, and how is that all still truth.
Mhm.
But thank you for sharing your experience of how you got into it. That is kind of what I was going to lead into next, which is when you started to develop your intuitive abilities, what drawed you into that? And it sounds like it happened right before you started connecting with the records even. But would you say that as you a child growing up, do you remember having experiences where you were maybe connecting with the other realms, dimensions, and beings? Because I know you have a medium ability as well, where you're connecting to spirit.
I definitely um, felt more like connected and supported by nature, the natural world, being outside. I remember being a kid and doing like a science project on the phases of the moon, and that was the beginning of me being like looking up in the sky and being like, like what is this moon about? And like, moon gazing and looking up at the stars. And um I do like vaguely remember feeling some sort of connection when my grandfather on my mother's side passed away, and I believe I was like 9 or 10, but I didn't think much of it. I just kind of, I don't know, like I felt like I could see him a little bit. Um, and I've always been connected to animals. We had a lot of pets growing up. Our house was kind of like a zoo. We were always like rescuing cats, and like we had all these like crazy things like newts and ferrets and like
Oh,
crazy
wow.
animals. So I was always just very in touch with like empathetically like what they needed, what they liked, what they didn't like. I was always like reading them really well. And so I feel like as far as like having this like empathetic connection, feeling tapped in, that was kind of ongoing as a kid. Um, and I think that, I wasn't religious growing up. I didn't really resonate with, the idea of like God as a higher power. I wasn't connected to any religions. But I do remember, I even considered myself like an atheist, but I do remember feeling like I believe in something really big, bigger than all of us. And so maybe even at that point, I would say like the universe, but I didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah.
That's interesting, actually. And maybe that somehow was preparing you or priming you for being able to be a person who could easily go, oh, I could got Akashic Records, you know. Whereas with for myself, I grew up in a very religious household, and so it's taken me some time to undo some of this God programming.
Mm,
And even when learning the Akashic Records and how they use a prayer, there was something in me that was like, I had to modulate that in myself and reconnect with prayer.
mm,
And interestingly, you know, bringing up religion, it's the more I look into this, the more I'm sensing of like the Akash is just what resonates with me as something that you might call God or spirit,
mhm,
this the great mind and
mhm,
alchemy, the all that is the all. And we'll
mhm,
get into that some more as well. But yeah, nature, right? It seems to be we're all born with this connection with nature, and at some point there's this integration where you're coming and trying to be a person in the world, and some of that goes away.
mhm,
But at some point you get drawn back into it, like what you have done, and you go through the coursework and you do the meditation classes and you learn from those that have come before, and then you get to a point where you want to share, or maybe you don't want to share and something drops in and says you need to share, and
mhm.
it compels you. And so I'm curious if you went through maybe a rite of passage of some kind to be feel um, qualified as a practitioner, or was there reluctance or resistance to stepping into this role that you have now?
Mhm, mhm.
And yeah, what obstacles did you have to overcome to help get you into this place of confidence and trust with what you're doing?
That's a good question. That's a fantastic question. I have never, because it's lived experience, because it feels so clean and clear what I'm connecting with. It's the most dependable, reliable source of information and support and guidance that I've ever received from like more than any person, more than any. a mentor, teacher, family member, more than anything. It has felt extremely like, yes, like this is true. What I'm receiving is true. So I trust this guidance. And because of my life experience with this guidance and the level of support that it has provided me to pull me out of very painful, deep, dark places, um, I've just followed it. And because I know what it's done for me, I want other people to experience this because it helps you keep going in life, period. Seeing things that will allow you to move forward, releasing the traumas and the dramas of the past, getting the perspective you need to move forward, feeling inspired for the future. And there's not much, over the years, there seems to be less and less in our world that's providing that. And so I think the only times really like what I've been up against in sharing it and wanting to talk about it is that I recognize that a lot of people are just not open to this, like completely closed off, don't believe in it, haven't experienced it at all, write it off because of that. And then kind of like the most heartbreaking part, which is what I'm working through, is that a lot of people just do not want to look at themselves. They do not want to look at these things. They don't want to do the work to feel better. And that's something I have to just accept. But in reality, like most of the people in my personal life don't have any interest in what I do. They don't even talk to me about it. They don't ask me about it. It's like this thing like, oh, we don't want to go there. And so that's been really painful. And so, a lot of my journey has been on my own. And so I feel like even with my YouTube channel and the books that I write, I'm just like, I can't sit with all of this information. It is
Yeah.
it is way too profound and supportive for me to just hold it in. So let me just find ways, and like I hope that people get these messages so that they can feel better and be more hopeful and have faith in how incredible the future can be and how incredible the present can be and just like how incredible we are.
Yeah. Oh,
So powerful, right? And
that,
so sad that we don't always know how incredible and how powerful we are. Like these things I say, like they make us superhuman. And it's both like superhuman, like, but also very human. Like this is natural and innate
yeah.
in all of
I
us.
love that.
People just knew it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Lindsay. And so it sounds like it's something that's almost unstoppable. It's a flow that's, and if you were to hold it, like you were saying, it would create stress and to have all that just lying there. So it works. There's obstacles, there's challenges, and I relate with what you're saying about the family. My husband is open with whatever I want to explore and whatnot. He's not telling me thou shalt not any of that stuff, but he's so logic brained, and he solves problems by finding information in a different way. And a lot of people are like that, which is you rely on what you learn in your books, the academia, the accredited places. And there's almost like I was having a conversation with him last night about this interview, and I'm like, what question would you ask as a person who's really not sure what's going on here, is skeptical? And it has to do with how he doesn't know that he can trust the information. And so he won't spend the time. He won't put time in his mental atmosphere to even suspend and be receptive in that way. And I said, it's just a different way of getting information. You're sitting back and sort of clearing out what you think you know about something and creating a container to receive, versus the way he does it, and many people do, is there's this piercing searching into like information, books, media, internet, other and all of that. And so this is an untrustworthy line from his perception. And so the question is, how do you know if it's your imagination or not? That was his question.
I love that. Beautiful. So I will start by saying I I am in such deep practice with this work that I've been doing it for like a decade, almost every single day, multiple times a day. So I'm very practiced. I understand that perspective. So years ago, my background, I worked in the fashion industry for 18 years. I was a designer. And when I say designer, I like to think of that as like a problem solver. I was in sustainable design. I was in like a really cool part of the industry where I was doing knitwear and 3D knitting. And my brain, if I close my eyes, my brain would struggle to use imagination. Like I wasn't an imagination person. I wasn't a daydreamy person. I was a very like, rooted, grounded, practical, almost like, pessimistic, optimistic, like a nice balance of the two, very grounded into reality.
Mhm.
And when I say I was a designer, I say problem solver. I wasn't um like fantasizing about things. I didn't close my eyes and see things. So when I started doing this work, and I will say my exact experience was Vedic meditation, 20 minutes twice a day, every day for an entire year. So that set up my foundation. And then Reiki, which opened something else up in me. So these are expanded states of awareness and intuitive knowing, intuitive feeling, intuitive sensing, these heightened advanced states of awareness, practice. And then I didn't see visuals until I was attuned to work in the Akashic Records. That was the first time I closed my eyes and I was like, oh, I'm seeing something. So the proof is in my lived experience. The proof
Mhm.
is in, the reason I trust it is because time and time again, both for myself and other people, I have seen the shift in them. I have seen the recognition, the confirmation when I'm telling them something, it just lands so
Mhm.
deeply in their soul
Mhm.
where something happens in them and they're like, that's a truth. Like, that's such a truth. Like, when someone's struggling with something and the records pull in a message of like a past life relationship. I don't know this person at all. I'm just sharing what's coming through. And then I share the story of this past life with that person. And in this life, they're a totally different person. And they start having these emotional reactions
Yeah.
because deep in them, they know that this is something that happened to them, that they're
Mhm.
carrying with them, etc. And
Mhm.
that's also what happened to me.
Mhm.
So it's all you build trust, like with any relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so I completely understand what he's saying.
Mhm.
And I think, also just in our world, in our 3D material world, we don't trust anything. We've all been conditioned not to trust anything. But
Right.
I would say that's okay. That's healthy, but if experience it first.
Yeah.
And like my meditation teacher always says, experience first, knowledge after.
That's a
So
good one.
experience it for yourself. Experience specific types of meditation first. Receive Reiki first. Receive an Akashic Records reading or a Biofield tuning session first, and then ask the questions. Don't dig into this academic, like it's like there's so much that we experience that you cannot put into words.
Right.
I'm a fan of intelligence over intellect. I'm not someone where you can be like, hey, Lindsay, like, referencing this person in history and this philosophy and this and that, whatever. Like that's not how I grew up learning. That's not, I'm a lived experience person. So I can say what's true for me. And I
Mhm.
can say what's true from my lived life experience with other people. And
Yeah.
that's why I trust what I'm doing.
That's beautiful. This is so much about trust and cultivating a relationship is what I have found in my own experience as well, is that you're sort of getting to know something.
Mhm.
It's not just a play. And I mean, it's interesting, but it does feel like a relationship that is being developed. And I appreciate that you have put in that type of dedication with your meditation and your practices of the daily, because I've started just a year ago with working with this, and meditation is very challenging for me.
Hmm.
And so I don't tap into the records every day necessarily. I'm kind of, I'll wait until I'm not always clear to tap into the records. And I feel like that has something to do with your ability to get that type of coherent information.
Yeah.
Going out in nature, I have to like go way out into the woods often to get the clearest the signal, because it does seem like you're being a receiver. Like
Hmm.
if you have an antenna and a receiver, you're so kind of tapping in that way. So I like your answer though, with your confidence of where you're coming through and why it's so uh, shifting in the sense that you didn't have the visuals before, and then now with all of the practice and continuing, it opened up after the attunement. I didn't know that, which is great because sometimes I question, I'm like, because I'm super imaginative. I'm an artist, and so I'm always visualizing, and so I think that it was kind of like maybe I'm just visualizing. But so it brings to question imagination, this interplay with imagination and the akash, the universal energy fields of consciousness. There's this thing happening where maybe like even in a shamanic journey, you're being guided into something like you imagine yourself here. So you start with imagination, but then something else happens that comes into it that's we're and activating this scenery. And so is our consciousness in our minds, where is it, we can obviously travel and connect to beyond our bodies, beyond into so many things, right? And so it's about where you're focusing, and which is why that opening and closing procedure is
Hmm.
so important, because it gives it that container,
Hmm.
because there's dangers, right? Just gonna go. I think for coming back to the religion thing, there's just this whole like caution of I don't want to connect to something really, because that exists too. I don't want to connect to something really what is the word, like menacing,
Yeah.
right? And so I like that there's this very clear container and prayer that is used. I think it is super important to honor that pathway, to connect, to keep. And I don't have any problems with anything coming and messing with me if I keep it in that space.
Yeah.
So this we've covered a lot about trust, which is definitely something I wanted to touch on. And so let's see. You've learned it in a particular way from your mentors, but I would imagine that you've also taken it and perhaps made it your own, and cultivated, developed it into a personal way that Lindsay does it. So can you maybe define like how you've made it into your own way that's just different and unique than others?
Sure. I definitely organize where I'm getting my information from. Um, whether that a lot of people say that doesn't matter. But I don't know why I'm so persistent on like organizing, like, I'm tapping into my intuition. This is coming from my intuition, my higher self. This information is coming from my higher self, passed on loved ones, mediumship, or like the Akashic Records. Like I like to call out and organize where I'm getting my information from. Just that's like a personal preference.
Hmm.
As far as like working in the records and kind of making it my own, I had such a solid foundation from my teacher, Christina Cross. And, that includes the pathway prayer process, which is Linda Howe's pathway prayer process, if you want to look that up. So that's what I was trained to work with. And it's just the formal opening and the formal closing. And she channeled that opening and closing prayer to get in the records. And I still like to hold on to the tradition of that. I automatically tap into the records all the time. Like if I'm in conversation with something, sometimes I'll kind of feel them drop something in and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay. Or like if I'm in going through something, I'll feel them drop something in. Like I don't always have to say the opening and closing prayer for me, but I certainly love to do it when I'm reading for other people or opening on a topic. Um, I just feel, similar to Reiki, right? once you're attuned to Reiki, Reiki's always flowing through you. So no matter who or what you touch, they're getting a little bit. But
Hmm.
once you open it and the floodgates open, so it's more powerful. So that's why I like to stick to the tradition of the opening and closing prayer. I think in the ways where maybe I've made it my own is like I have kind of a format of like the questions I like to ask. I think that's the most fun about working in the records is like your questions,
Hmm.
and asking, I was trained, the foundation is using how, why, and what questions, not really yes or no. They just want to give you juicier answers than yes or no. So use how, why, or what when you're framing your questions. But I've noticed that like I usually have an opening message or an opening visual. So as I'm saying the opening prayer, they're already showing me something before the client has even asked a question. And it usually pertains to something pressing in that person's life. And I like to, if people feel kind of stumped, I like to invite, and I say like what past life wants to come through with the message today. And they'll show me a past life, and there will be some experience that's relevant to that person's situation today, how something might be lingering, and then they'll have a message to help them move forward. I like to ask what, ancestors or spirit guides have a message today. And I almost always end with like a what's the most important message we need to know. It depends on what we're opening the records on, but I feel like if anything, like really all that I've made it my own is maybe that I open the records on topics, which
Hmm.
is what my YouTube channel is about, is like,
Yes.
we don't have to just open the records on us. Like, let's open the records on like the worlds that we live in. Like, what do the
Yeah.
records say about, humanity or,
So fascinating.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
you know,
such a archive that you've
yeah,
created on your
yeah,
YouTube channel. It's
yeah.
it's
And I'm open. I mean, just like I have like a really nice list. I have a friend who gave me like a solid list. But I love, and like I, again, with the framework of questions, I have my general questions, but I love to hear what you guys want to ask. Like, what do you want
mm-hmm.
to ask? I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
doing one on the pyramids next.
Ooh, cool.
A friend of mine gave me like four questions, and I'm like, let's do this.
Sweet. Yeah, I love that. I love that you've taken it into that direction too, because yeah, there's so much more to know, right? And so you have this very playful curiosity with the way you approach the work.
Yeah.
And so I love that. Let's see. I want to also talk about healing in the records. And you are a Reiki master. And what have you noticed with the healing work? And is that come in every time? Do they see when, and then we can cover like what is they also when we refer to they of the guardians, just to be clear about that. There's a reference, but does healing always come through, or does that seem to be always the case?
I do feel like healing always comes through, at least in the form of perspective.
Hmm.
So if you're struggling with something, you ask a question, they share a perspective that alleviates whatever has been, blocking you from moving forward with that perspective. They give you a new perspective or a
Hmm.
different perspective than what you've been looping in your mind. That is incredibly healing. But specifically, you can be taken to what's called the healing room. So there's a couple things that happen. So I can just say, working with someone like, let's take so and so to the healing room. And then the records, like they'll be showing me, the lords of the Akashic Records will be showing me visuals of what's being worked on the person. So it could be like, they could be like, you know, in this realm, like vacuuming something out of your system, right? On an energetic, spiritual, etheric level, vacuuming it out of your system. Or, they might put you in an environment that's really peaceful and soothing. So the healing room, they'll show me what it is for that person based on what they're going through. So the healing room is a beautiful place to go if you ever need to just kind of sit in a place, and then your reader will share what they're doing for you.
Hmm.
Another thing that's incredibly healing is just sharing backstory. What are you going through as you're speaking? So here's kind of the interesting thing about, your Akashic Records readers. They're not necessarily listening to what you're saying. They're paying attention to what the records are saying in response to what you're saying. So someone could share like an entire like story of a relationship or a challenge that they're facing. as you speak, that's healing. The
Hmm.
records are witnessing you speak, but they're also offering a message of support and guidance, a perspective that you can take with you on the thing that you're talking about. And so sometimes, people will have these, emotional waves that come through during that. It's really powerful. So I say, yeah, they're incredibly healing.
Yeah.
And I wonder, even before getting into the Akashic Records, I was doing Reiki. And I also, to backtrack, started seeing visuals when I was giving Reiki. And usually, maybe I think that because Reiki cleans and clears you as a channel, I think that prepares you for the Akashic Records really beautifully. So I've noticed a common path of people who practice Reiki getting into the Akashic Records. It's just a natural vibrational match.
Yep.
But I would, give people Reiki and I would start seeing things or sensing things and getting stories. And when we would sit down after the session and talk, I would share the messages that came through. And this was
Hmm.
before I was working in the records. So there's a lot of healing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great intro. It's segue into what I would like to cover, which was that biofield tuning seems to have an affinity with this work as well. And so I was noticing when I work with people and start listening to the biofield using the tuning forks, basically it's similar to what I experienced with going into the Akashic Records, in that it was pulling up sort of these image stories of energetic patterns or things, that they are relating to. It's sometimes it's just symbolic and metaphorical, and other times it's very much about like an ancestor would come through. And so it seems like when we open up our awareness to that process of your whole biofield containing this Akashic record, it's sort of, you're a walking record. You have all of that information about you that flows through you. And so I sense that when I'm doing biofield tuning, that I'm already tapping in. And so what I've done is incorporated the prayer into my whole opening and closing sequence that I already do to make that sacred space, ceremonial sound space. And so I love that I can incorporate that into the sessions and call in the ether and call in directly for that connection. And then it seems to make the coherence more clear, more clean, more high definition, I should say.
Mhm.
And then what I'd like to work with people is having them have this conscious awareness that we're opening the records while we're doing the tuning, and that you can interact in your records and have questions while we're tuning. And so I've done that at least a few times, and it's been profound because when it seems to be more intense when they are focused also with what they are wanting to know. And so if you have these specific questions, it's like, it's amazing because this comes out of nowhere. It's like if you become receptive and you just clear the screen of your mind and they ask a question, and then boom, it just lights up. It like lights up. And
Yeah.
so I'm amazed with it. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your biofield tuning experience, and when we did our session together, just a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when first introduced me to biofield tuning, just talking about it, like everything you were saying, I was like, I'm so curious about this because what you were describing just felt like you were in the records when you were doing the biofield tuning. Like it just felt so clear to me, even before, like, I guess early on when you just started learning. It's just the conversation, like everything that you were seeing and how it prompted things I was seeing. And I don't even think I was in the records at the beginning. I was just receiving the biofield tuning session,
Yeah.
distance, I might add,
Yeah.
which it makes no difference. It is just as potent as if I was in the room with you. And someday I'd love to be in the room with you and see what that's like.
Yes.
But we're like, completely across the country from each other. And
Right.
the way that we're just in this field together and playing with each other, and you're like, I'm seeing this and we're going to work on this. And then I'm seeing what you're doing. And we're just like
Yeah.
going back
It
and
was
forth.
sinking.
so much fun, so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really something I'm curious about because, biofield tuning is not, it's not I'm not familiar with it enough to even speak on it, but there is something so clearly connected to the
Yes.
universal information field. You know,
Yes.
unbelievable.
It is, and it's interesting in the teachings of Eileen de McCusick. She's the pioneer of this work, biofield tuning. In the biofield anatomy, she calls it, which is like these structures of energetic patterns that we have around us. She has found what she calls the ancestral rivers that flow on both sides of the body that connect with the mother and father lineages. And so I find that that seems to be the most potent place where stuff wants to come through, or these deeper messages. And so there's absolutely a connection. I'm fascinated with it. I'm honored to be able to play in this realm, and that is absolutely my approach to this work. I think that's what keeps me from with biofield tuning and then learning how to go into the records. There's this, it has just incinerated the doubt of having self-doubt, or just like too much of like, I don't know how, I can't go and tap into that. What's the, it's, to me, it's more about, no, this is a realm we all can play in, and it's not, it's okay
Yeah.
to go there and check it out for yourself, experience it. And that's always like what you were saying. I absolutely agree with that. The only way you're going to know what a distance session feels like is to experience it for yourself.
Mhm.
And and what's the worst thing that could happen? It could be nothing. It didn't do anything. And okay, great.
Yeah.
You tried
Yeah.
it. You
Yeah.
can, but maybe something amazing happens and it'll blow your mind. And
Totally.
then it'll
Things that
shift
you
your
can't
world.
describe, right? Things that if you've never experienced it, you might not have the words for it, but you might
Yeah.
be like, I felt something, or I saw something, or
Yeah,
something shifted in me, or days after, I'm different in this way. Like it
exactly.
changes you.
It does. And so I want to just say, like, this is all resonance in the ether, and bring that connectivity again back to how perhaps the Akashic Records is the ether, which
Mm,
is the connective medium between everything. What has been taken out of our knowledge is that we have this the ether, which
mm,
is what holds it all together. It's what all the sound and the light and the matter and all these electromagnetic waves arise out of, and
mhm.
it holds the vibration of everything that has ever happened. It's all potential, right? Does that resonate with you, to compare those two
Absolutely.
things?
Yeah. I mean, when you're speaking, I'm just like, it's our interconnectedness to ourselves and everything around us.
Yeah.
Complete interconnection.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that, we have this dance, this relationship of connection and disconnection. And it's like
Hmm.
how cool interconnection is. Interconnection is really cool.
It's super cool. It's super fluidity. I mean, I just have so much fun is the thing about it. I think if
Yeah.
people took down the maybe there's a fear or something of like, I can't do whatever that is, just like get on the playground and get out there and check out what's going on with your ability to receive information from the universal energy fields of consciousness.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads us into doing our closing little mini tune in. We're going to listen to some sounds from the tuning forks. We're going to open the records. And I think I'm feeling like we can just leave it open to what's the most important message that humanity needs to know right now, that we can sound out into the ether.
Mm,
Um,
perfect. So I'll open the Akashic Records on humanity.
that sounds great to me. I love it. I'm feeling a lot of connection to humanity lately, sort of a renewed I don't know, relationship with this whole conscious evolution. may
Yeah.
as well may as well be embodied and get on with it, you know.
I know, right? Okay.
So, do you want to open the records first, and then we'll tune, or?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to say the opening prayer.
Okay, great.
And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God. Help me to know humanity in the light of the Akashic Records, to see humanity through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of humanity have for it. The records are now open.
You're probably already getting visuals.
I did. That's why I laughed. I was like, we didn't ask anything, but this is what happened. Yeah.
Oh, if you want, you can share that now, or we can just listen for a moment, and then we'll share what we're both sensing. Does that feel good to you?
Yeah, sure, sure.
So I'm just going to use, it's so interesting. I'm going to swap this out. I'm going to actually use 144 hertz for it. And what we're going to do is just open ourselves up with a little breathing. Take a few deep breaths. And just start letting your consciousness drop into your body. And we're going to open up a pathway to the earth by sensing the bottoms of your feet. And just let your imagination and your mind carry you through the experience of connecting to the core of the planet Earth. Just start feeling like you're growing roots. You can bring your roots up even into the tailbone and hips and let those grow down and reach down into the earth and spread out all over like mycelium. Just let your taproot plug into the core of the planet. And then we're going to draw up energy from this source deep within the earth and let that flow up and into your body. Bring that up into through the bottoms of your feet, drawing it up into the central channel. Rising up and out through the spine and out through the top of the toroidal structure of your biofield. Just flowing back down around. And then we're going to sense up above, that space above your head, and connect with all the light above your head, the sun and the stars, all the plasma of the universe. And let that come down and descend into your crown, down through your central channel, down out through the bottoms of your feet, coming back and wrapping up around. And just take another breath and sense the bi-directional flow of energy that supports you from the earth and the sun. Just get a sense of your expanded light body, toroidal flow of energy, and how that's sort of hugging your physical body. You can open your eyes here if you want, and then we're going to share what is going on in the records as we open our biofields and connect through the ether. And I'll just share what my opening visual was really just the kind of seeing from this outer distance perception of the planet Earth and our sun, and the sun just loving the earth with all of its light, kind of like these rays of light that are wrapping around the earth. Just this warm, nurturing, loving presence of like the sun. The earth is the sun's child kind of feeling.
They were showing me a bunch of different things, and one in particular, um, the opening was, us as humanity. They were showing a person holding a broom and like sweeping, cleaning up. Like humanity's cleaning up the dust, cleaning up the dirt, sweeping. We're sweeping. So that was the opening message, opening visual. But what you said about the sun was really cool because as you were bringing us um, into the rooting, they were showing just this incredible need for us to put our feet in the grass on the earth, our whole bodies. And so, going with what you're saying about the sun, just loving up the earth and the earth being the sun's child, and all of us needing to receive that nurturing from the earth, and just showing like this is a desperate need. This is such um, a resource of support and healing and health for our mental, emotional, and physical. They're saying like disabilities, like the issues that we're having. And then another really beautiful thing they were saying was a calling for art, not digital, a calling for physical art in the world, like large scale as a source of inspiration and creating our world through our visions, our dreams, and our imagination of like how we want to project what we want to see in the world. So there was this calling for artists, calling for art.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful. I think that it's like putting something back into the collective that's like culturally enriching. And
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful. And while you were speaking, it was really showing like how like all the children of the earth and the kids are on the, the kids are close to the ground, they're rolling around in the grass. I'm getting chills even because you remember when you're a kid and what that's like to have that feeling of just total bliss with your place on the planet Earth.
Yeah.
And it's natural, like what you were saying, with your connection to animals.
Yeah.
It's emotional, right? It's actually like
It,
super, and so that's something that can happen in the records is like it strikes a chord, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what motivates me to do this and share and like go past the fear of what other people think or the judgment of it. It's like it's like what you're saying, it's too important.
It's too important.
And
Yeah.
I've had experiences with other people as well where it's like you can sense that there's something that got dislodged and
Mm-hmm.
shifted. And so, yeah, it seems the records are really deeply connected to humanity's evolution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the kids and playfulness, it's like it's almost like we're all kids and it's for the kids.
It's for the kids. Yeah. The next generation, the future generation, like needing to inspire them, needing to be visionaries for them, needing to have these visions for them, collectively creating them, and being children ourselves. Like they're saying, like,
Yes.
not so serious.
Yeah.
Like you need to be playing and
Yes.
rolling in the grass. Like, why do we stop doing that? That's so absurd. They're
Right.
saying absurd. Keep playing in the grass. Keep, they're like, rafting down the river,
Yeah.
hiking up your mountains.
Yes. Being there's something about that. Absolutely. Tapping back into what that feels like in your body because it lets you be free to
Hmm.
move. And
Hmm.
we're so conformed in so many ways and
Hmm.
compressed and our spiritual like creative energy is like struggling.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
just there's with what's going on this, and so we have to approach it's as a contrast to what's going on, right? It's so there's this idea of what's falling away, the entropy breaking down,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's what's blooming, where's the energy going, where does it want to move you, how does your body want to move, and you resist it and you go, oh,
Yeah.
don't make me do that.
Right,
But
right.
maybe it's like, oh, and it's liberating.
Yeah.
So
And
if
they're saying, like, as being human in the ecosystem on Earth, they're saying, like, you're a human being, you're a part of the ecosystem on Earth. And they're just saying, do you Earth? Do you Earth? Like,
yeah.
it's like, but they're saying, like, in comparison of just like us tapping into these technological realms that we've created, like we've created them, and that's so cool. Like they're like technology, innovation, modern, whatever. But like you're on Earth. Like they're saying be on Earth.
Yeah.
Like touch the earth,
Yeah.
touch each other, hug each other, play, explore, adventure. Like do you Earth?
Do you Earth? Oh my goodness. I think that could be a new slogan.
Yeah,
You
totally.
Earth, a sticker, a t-shirt, an
Totally.
article. I'm gonna run with it. Do you
Push
Earth?
it. Movement. Yeah, yeah. Push
Because there's
it.
a lot of tendency to want to be disembodied right now and like leave the planet or ascend somewhere else or just to have absolute apathy
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
and we've all can tap into that. It's there.
Yeah.
But we could also tap into this other thing. And
Yeah.
you see it when you look at bright children that are playful and like maybe that's the message, the most important message is like this is such a great
Yeah.
all-encompassing important message. And it just ties right into my whole emotional spiritual interest
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in doing this. And what you're saying about art is very, very connecting to me personally as well, because I feel like art is starting to come through. And
Yeah.
it's through
Yeah.
the tuning work and doing shadow work, course work, and intuitive coursework with you, tapping into the records, doing this for the last year. And it's taken a lot to sort of just be and let it flow through whatever it is, because we inhibit and hesitate. I do, and then
Yes.
it never gets done, and it's just sitting there, like the time is now to
Yes.
let energy
They
flow
just
through
said
you.
yesterday.
Yeah, they said yes.
They said yesterday. You said
Yesterday.
the
The
time is
time is
now.
now.
They
They
said
said
yes.
it's yesterday.
They're just like it's
Or
overdue.
it's overdue. And maybe that's that feeling of like, this is, maybe people feel that way. Do you feel like you're overdue somehow? Audience, is there
Yeah,
something
ask.
in your life that feels like it's just been ready to be birthed for so long and you're holding it and it wants to be shared and birthed into the world, our culture?
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, go for it. That's a beautiful message.
Yeah.
But I think we should go ahead and land it there with this lovely conversation with Lindsay Mann of heyclarity.com. And please do check out her YouTube channel. Just a trove of beautiful knowledge. And her website, of course. I am going to order your books. I haven't read through them yet, but I am excited to explore more deeply into the Akashic Records and discover what's coming through, because I have a lot of fun. I write articles when it feels like it's good to share, like the right thing to share, I'll share it and bring more of that to you folks. So please do stay tuned for more interviews with Thera Phase Biofield Tuning Podcast, and leave your comments below if there's something you'd like to add to the conversation and share. Thank you.
Thank you.
They're saying it's like not logically measured. It's not literal, but it's like exactly known. It's felt. They're saying like embodied, like in your being. Like I know, I'm getting know thyself. Know thyself, know yourself around others. Oh, okay, so they're saying first and foremost, just be the one. You're the one. You're trustworthy to yourself. So cultivating trust, they're saying it starts within you. It's like trusting yourself and trusting who you are. And they're actually saying that's all that matters. If you trust yourself and you trust who you are, you know who you are. They're saying know thyself very clearly, very well. Then they're saying, like, others can trust you. They're saying, can abide by others because you trust yourself. And so they're kind of going like, almost like it doesn't matter, like, how much I trust you. Like, if it's known or unknown, if it's established or not established at all. They're saying it doesn't really matter. Like, all that matters is, like, they're saying, know thyself. Like, all that matters is knowing yourself.